Mr. Vaishnaw, thank you for that, galvanizing presentation. You've made impossible actually look easy. हम बचपन में वो परियों की कहानी सुनते थे कि रेल आती थी, ऊपर जाती थी. That is the magical thing that is happening to the entire, Indian railway sector. You referred to India has added a Switzerland in the rail network. You referred to India has added a Austria in the rail network. When do you think India will add a China to the rail network?
Just recently in the budget, if you look at it, Honorable Prime Minister has approved 3 new corridors which will add 40,000 kilometers of railway network in the coming years. And our Prime Minister is a very, very tough taskmaster. We achieve this much, he'll give us a target this. If we achieve this much, he'll give us a target this. So it's like a continuously increasing the scale, increasing the bar, and that gives a lot of satisfaction, because if we remain satisfied with small things, then we'll achieve only small things. Our Prime Minister says that for India to be a developed country at 2047, and he has made very detailed plan for every sector, including the railway sector. This 40,000 is the first installment, 40,000 kilometers is the first installment of that plan. Many more new corridors, new structures, new kind of systems will come in the coming years.
So it's a matter of time that the next European railway minister, when he's making a presentation, he will refer to your slides to say, India mein jo raha hum bhi karna chahte hain.
We will be exporting many things.
Everybody always thinks as railway as logistics mover, passenger commute. But the multiplier effect the railways is having on the economy per se, it is actually magical. Let's talk about it, sir. What kind of impact that is happening on the economy?
That's a very important question. I'll give a bit technical answer to this. If you invest 100 rupees in a classic infrastructure sector, generally the multiplier is 2.4, 2.9, 3.4, 3.6. If you invest 100 rupees in railways, the multiplier is actually of the order of 4 plus. Depending upon how you compute it, the multiplier is actually of 4 plus, which means you invest 100 rupees in railway sector and you get a return in the economy which is 4x that, which is 400 plus. So huge impact, because if you look at railway, how do you look at railways, right? Railway track is like highway plus steel sector sitting on it. Railway trains are like the entire Toyota, Maruti, Hyundai in it, right? Railway electrification, the overhead wires, that is like the power grid combined in the system. The entire signaling and telecom system is like having a Jio or an Airtel sitting inside railways. It's a very, very complex. The stations are like having your urban development, the entire city and mall, real estate sector sitting in it, right? Your entire marketing effort is like a Hindustan Unilever or a Nestle doing the marketing of their products in it. It's a kind of combining so many sectors into one sector. That is what is behind the high multiplier and a big impact on practically every sector. We have computed, we actually did an enumeration once. Each and every rupee that we invest in railways has an impact of about on about 250 industries. I'm not talking companies. 250 industries. For example, the steel industry, the paint industry, the cable industry. That level, that is the kind of impact which railway has.
So, will it be fair to say that railways will be doing a lot of heavy lifting for the economy in terms of capex, the infrastructure built up, and more importantly, the multiplier effect it will have?
Yes, that's a very fair statement.
The Prime Minister on the floor of the Parliament spoke about PSUs, the wealth creation in PSUs. Railway stocks is where the real wealth has happened. Everyone is excited about the good things happening in the railways, path to profitability, excitement and buoyancy. What do you have to say to millions of investors? Because we've never had a chance to ask you, Minister Vaishnaw, what's your view on railway stock?
So generally I refrain from talking about the stock market, and I'll maintain that rule, follow that principle. What I can talk about the sector is that the sector is growing very well. The sector is today kind of for a very long period, railway was losing the market share. Railway used to have something around 80% market share 60 years back, 70 years back. Now that came down to 27% at its lowest. Now it has started inching up. From 27 it has come to about 28.5%. Next year it will be about 29%. And by 2030 the share of railway in the entire transportation will be about 35%. And the reason for that, why it is good for the country, is transportation by railway is about 60% less expensive and 90% less polluting. That's even more important because CO2 emissions are 90% less in the railway sector compared to the road sector. So it's very important for the country, our future, our green goals, that we need to make sure that the railway sector grows.
But sir, I have a simple question. Why is so much of productivity getting suddenly unleashed in the railway sector? This sector to pehle bhi tha, but why so much of productivity and so much of galvanization is suddenly getting unleashed?
See, one of the very, very highly satisfying things, the way our Prime Minister goes into details. I can just share it in public today. If there is a 35-page deck which has pure technical details, you'll find a Prime Minister who's deeply engrossed in discussions on those technical details. He goes into minute details. He helps us think through the problems, and then he gives us the comfort that go ahead, take this reform forward and see the results. If you don't succeed, don't worry. We'll find a new way. But he gives that very significant strength of doing bigger things, taking bigger goals, achieving, failing also in between, but still trying new things. I think that's what has really helped unleash the power of technology and the power of scaling up.
But Mr. Vaishnaw, you would still admit and acknowledge that the logistic cost in India are significantly higher, and they are still in double digit. And if I look at the global numbers are far more, appealing. What is the plan in place to really bring that cost down structurally?
Structurally, if you have two things, first, let's say there are two items, right? First item has a cost which is very high. Second item which has a cost very low. If you have majority of your consumption of the first item, then your household budget will have very high cost. If you have majority of the second item in your consumption, then the household budget will have very low cost. Correct? Every household will have a weighted average, a combination of the cost of the two products, which will go into the total cost of the budget. Same thing holds for logistics cost also. The net logistics cost is a weighted average of all the segments in it. That's why most developed economies, they have kept a target of about 50% rail and 50% road and water combined. That is the way most developed countries move forward. We started moving forward in this direction in 2014, and the results are visible today. And going forward, we'll see that once the share of rail increases to about 35% by 2030, then the overall cost of logistics will come down, because the cheaper mode having higher volume will mean that the overall cost is coming down.
Yesterday, Minister Gadkari spoke about roads, how the advancement is happening there. Few days ago, the aviation ministry spoke about the fact that airports are getting constructed and they want to gain more aviation sector market share. You are making new, railway and stations now. So eventually, which ministry will get it right? The road ministry, the aviation ministry, or the railway ministry? सबको market share चाहिए, सब अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं.
India will win. भारत जीतेगा. देखो, we are a country of 1.4 billion people. 140 करोड़ भारतीयों का देश है. इतना मैसिव ट्रांसपोर्ट रिक्वायरमेंट है. आज even today, railway is carrying about 750 crore people every year. Highways carrying about 250 crore people every year. Airports are carrying about 30 crore people every year. There is enough for everybody in this economy. It's an economy which is growing at a rapid pace. There is enough for everybody. So it's a question of how do we collaborate and how do we make sure that the entire transport network becomes more optimal. Transport economics says anything below 250 kilometers, road is the best sector. Anything between 250 to 700 or 1000 kilometers, rail is a good sector, best sector. Above 1000 kilometers, air is the best sector for passengers. For cargo, there are different numbers. Below 500, road is better. 500 to 1500 or 1000 or 2000, rail is better. Above 2000, water is better. So we have to go by the laws of economics and laws of transportation, transport economics. That's the way the economy will move. So there's enough for everybody.
Okay, wonderful, sir. So I'm going to switch gears. Just time for two more questions. Electronic exports. Less than $1 billion has now almost become 20 billion. IT services वाले बोलते हैं हम तो 250 billion electronics exports को catch up करने में time लगेगा. When do you think India's electronic exports will be higher than Indian IT services?
We are targeting $300 billion production in the coming few years and about $100 billion exports in the coming few years. I think that those targets are realistic targets, achievable targets, and the ecosystem which is developing is giving us a lot of confidence because now the component manufacturers have started shifting to our country. And a lot of design work has started happening in our country. So part of this value chain, right from design to components to the final manufacturing and the services beyond that, everything is getting in place now. So it looks highly achievable that $100 billion exports and $300 billion total production in the coming few years is a visible thing.
Telecom sector, sir. The reason why government invested in Vodafone was because government always wanted to have 3 players in the telecom sector. Do you think the investment in Vodafone is something which you're happy about? Do you think it needs to be revisited? Do you think India needs 2 players or India still needs 3 telecom players?
Listen, once again, I'll follow my rule of not commenting on any listed company. Better to talk about this sector rather than commenting about any listed company because markets take cues from...
It's Saturday today, sir. Chutti aaj market ki.
I'm a responsible person. I have a big responsibility. I wouldn't like to comment on that. What I would like to tell you is that BSNL, which was in a very, very bad shape a decade back, almost on the verge of closure, has revived. BSNL is this year making 1,500 crore operating profit at EBITDA level. So that's a big revival.
So last question, Mr. Vaishnaw. Last time on the ET forum, you shared with us on the projects which were launched and started. Today you've shared the update with us in terms of where the progress is. Next year at ET Now GBS, I'm booking an appointment in advance. If you have to make a presentation in the railway sector, what would be the headline of that presentation? What do you think it's likely to contain?
Modi 3.0 is going to have very, very big initiatives. Our Prime Minister doesn't think small, he thinks very big. And his vision is of a different order. So next GBS, you'll find lots of work which is completed and lots of new initiatives. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vaishnaw, let's stand and give him a standing ovation. The Indian railway sector, the electronic sector, everything has changed. He's made the impossible look very, very easy. Thank you, Minister Vaishnaw.